Hi, everyone. Glad to be here. Rapid application development with Scaffold Stellar. Let's see how this works. Okay, I am Chad O, co-founder and CEO of the AHA Company. The AHA Company, you ask? Yes, we recently renamed. If you've heard of AHA Labs, that's us. We are the brains and brawn behind a lot of these smart contract interaction patterns on Stellar. So if you've used Stellar CLI's invoke behavior or the JavaScript SDK's contract client, that's us. If you're not familiar with us, that's what we've been up to the last couple of years. You can find us on GitHub at the AHA Co. If you have an old broken link that says AHA Labs, change AHA Labs to the AHA Co. You should be good to go. And our new website, any minute now, will be live at theaha.co. All right, so today we are going to hear about Scaffold Stellar. We're going to see an example, and we are going to conjure what it could be together. So let's hear about it. Scaffold Stellar is a tool to help you build ambitious apps. Was anyone here at Hack Meridian? All right, and did you use Scaffold Stellar? Any of you? It has been a popular choice at recent hackathons. Maybe you didn't need to build an app this time. It is a tool to help you build web apps, browser apps specifically, with as close to one command as possible. It has good defaults to help you fall into the pit of success, but if you don't like those defaults, we are striving to make it customizable. And we want to accelerate, to build on the foundation that we laid in the CLI and in the JavaScript SDK and in Stellar's, the decision that was made to put the contract ABIs, the contract specs, right on chain. We want to foster an open ecosystem. Whose contracts? Your contracts. Whether you wrote the contracts or not, we want it to be easy to build on them. But before we move on, let's talk about this idea of scaffolding, and let's talk about the name. It's a little long, Scaffold Stellar. It's also, when you type the CLI command, it's Stellar Scaffold, and even we, the core team, end up switching them up a lot. Also, scaffolding is meant to be temporary, right? You do your work on the building, and then you take down the scaffolding. We borrowed the name from Scaffold ETH. Most people treat Scaffold ETH as temporary. We have bigger ambitions for Scaffold Stellar. We want it to be maybe, slide intentionally left blank, a little bit more like Ruby on Rails, a really good solution for 80% of apps, of decentralized apps. If you're coming from Web 2 and you want to start building on Stellar, we want to give you the prime stack to make it really easy to get started building. So if you want to join me in using a shorter name, I have taken to calling it SCAST, which is technically an abbreviation of the existing name, Scaffold Stellar. And I think it's fun. Stellar cast. We want to cast things into existence, cast dApps into existence. And I want to make Scaffold Stellar as magical, powerful, and fun as doing an incantation around a bonfire. Or if these witches are a little too scary for you, think of Harry Potter. Everyone loves waving a magic wand and casting things into existence these days. If you think we should actually ship a CLI alias, so instead of typing Stellar Scaffold Watch, you can type SCAST Watch, let us know. I think that might be fun. So where are we today? Between Scaffold ETH on the one side, a tool for learning, and Ruby on Rails on the other side, a tool for building apps that grows with your app. We're about right here, pretty close to Scaffold ETH, but it's a little bit more capable. We'll talk about some of that. And also a question for you, where do you want it to be? Do you agree with this vision of making something that is a little bit more like Ruby on Rails? All right. We've heard, let's move on, let's see. Stellar plugin search. If you open your CLI today and you search for plugins, you will see the AHA Co/Scaffold Stellar, the Stellar app lifecycle streamlined. And this is a 2-for-1 deal. You got 2 CLIs, Stellar Scaffold CLI to help you init, learn, and build ambitious apps, and Stellar Registry to help you author, publish, deploy, and upgrade both WASM binaries and smart contracts, or use someone else's. So let's break this part 2 into 2 parts and talk about each of those in turn. Stellar Scaffold and Stellar Registry. Starting with Stellar Scaffold, you can install it with cargo install, Stellar Scaffold CLI. And then you can initialize a new project, call it Hello Meridian. This talk is going to be going through some upcoming features. This init command is basically just doing a git clone and then removing git. There's an open source tool called dgit that does the same thing. So you can npx dgit the AHA Co/Scaffold Stellar front end. That's what init would do. But then with dgit, you can get this feature branch, guess the number. All right, change into your new repo, set up your environment variables, install your npm dependencies, run your dev server. The dev server will concurrently run both Stellar Scaffold Watch and Vite. Do I have a laser on this? No. Yes? Justin, is there a laser? No? Nope. Wait. Okay, no laser. Anyway, up there, concurrently run Stellar Scaffold Watch, that's process 0, and Vite, that's process 1. The Vite output pops out right away and tells you it's running on localhost 5173. If you open it up, you see this. The text is small. I don't want you to get distracted reading it. I want you to pay attention to me. Up at the top, you can see a little connect button, and if you click the connect button, you see the Stellar Wallets Kit modal. You can connect with whichever of the options you prefer, and then you will see your wallet balance, which wallet is connected. You'll be able to fund your account and see that the app wants you to be on the local network. As you change stuff in your browser extension, it all gets updated here accordingly. This stuff is non-trivial, and it's really nice that you don't have to do it, that Stellar Scaffold did it for you. If we click over to that debugger up there, if you see debugger and now it's pressed, we've got this debug panel that looks kind of like Stellar Lab. And if we click over to our guess the number contract, we've got 5 methods: admin, set admin, upgrade, reset, guess. This all matches what we see in our contracts folder. So if you use the tree command, you can see what's in the contracts folder. We've got the same 3 contracts that we saw in our UI. If we look at the source code of guess the number, we're using some new stuff in here on this feature branch. So we've got this admin SEP with administratable and upgradable. This is implemented using what's called contract traits. These are composable, they're packages, right? They're on cargo, they're on crates.io. And they give you just do this impl administratable and impl upgradable, and boom, you've got admin, set admin, upgrade, all in a secure, audited way to compose your contracts from a bunch of different contract traits. You will also be able to write your own contract traits and share them with others. So that is shipping soon to Sorbonne SDK and is part of our work with Scaffold Stellar. We try to look at all layers of the stack here and improve whatever needs to be improved. Thank you, Willem, for a lot of this vision and work. Give Willem a hand, everyone. All right, so if we scroll down in this guess the number source lib.rs, we'll see some more typical Sorbonne SDK stuff with our reset function and our guess function. That, of course, is where reset and guess come from in the UI. No surprises there. But if we think about this more, where does this come from? How does the UI know about our contracts? How did we tell it about these contracts? If we go back to npm run dev and we scroll down, for each of the contracts, we will see that it is installing or uploading our WASM binary to our local network. it's instantiating or deploying a contract that points at that WASM binary. It's running an after deploy script, and it's binding or creating the TypeScript bindings, NPM packages, for each of our contracts. How does it know to do this? Well, these settings live in a file called environments.toml. And if we zoom in here we've got a development network setting where we tell it to use the local network. That is why it says, okay, I'm going to start the local Stellar Docker container. I'm going to wait for the network to be healthy so that all you do, you don't have to know how to do all this stuff. You just run Stellar Scaffold watch, and it takes care of all of it for you. You can set up development accounts. These are then created by the Stellar Scaffold CLI, so it creates keys for it, or if it has already created those keys, it just uses them. And then you set up all of your contract settings. You tell it the names of your contracts and some things to do for each of them. So we can see we have our 3 contracts. It's going to watch those for changes, and it's going to do all of this for each of them. It's going to deploy, publish the WASM on chain, deploy a contract that looks for it, do some after deploy scripts, generate the TypeScript bindings. If we zoom in on the after deploy script, that is this one short little line, after deploy equals reset. Where is reset in all of this output? It's right there. So the stuff after the dash is the function call for your contract, right? It's calling Stellar contract invoke, ID, whatever the ID happened to be, and it takes care of all of that for you. Before we go further, slide intentionally blank, I want to ask a reasonable question that Lee asked me. I don't see, Lee, are you in the audience? I don't see Lee right now. There, hi Lee, didn't get to say hi to you yet. The question is, why though? Why have a custom CLI instead of having some scripts in your package JSON file? Scaffold ETH has some custom scripts in the package JSON, and it kind of feels like these might help you accelerate your learning of the underlying tools. My response to this question is, if you actually look deeper at Scaffold ETH, it's got 40 custom scripts in its package JSON. That's already too many, but then to make it worse, some of those call nested package JSON scripts in its dependencies, and then some of those just run custom node scripts. Does this feel to you like it's accelerating the learning of the underlying tools? Or does it feel like it's pointing to a missing CLI? I think it's pointing to a missing CLI. Every boilerplate for Stellar before Scaffold Stellar would have something like an initialize.js file that would set up, that would do all of this stuff, but in a procedural, manual way that didn't really translate from one project to another. We want to give you one file where you say what the state of the world should be, right? These are my settings, my environments toml file where I say how I want my app to be once it starts up. And then Scaffold Stellar CLI gets the world into that shape for you. It gives you a deterministic way to make settings instead of procedural scripts. So that's why. Let's see it in action. Let's update this guess function and add a new argument. We'll add guesser, which is an address, and we will require that whoever is guessing signs the transaction. This will set us up to be able to pay them if they guess correctly, right? This is a little guessing game. You get a payout if you guess the number. And if we go back to our debugger, we see that we've got a new argument there. Guesser has been added to the debugger. Cool, it works. And if we go to our front-end component, source components guess the number.tsx, we see that we've got an error on line 16. If we mouse over it, argument of type, well, it's telling us down here, property guesser is missing. So we need to add guesser here. But that's actually not quite enough because you also need to sign it as the guesser. And this we will walk through in a tutorial because it's a little complicated the first time you do this in the Stellar world. You've got to import wallet from util wallet. You assemble a transaction where game.guess will automatically simulate the transaction and add the simulation to it. And then you pass the public key as the address of the, right? This is the person who is simulating the transaction. Stellar SDK.js actually has bad typing, so you can add this little TS expect error line to get around it. It'll be fixed someday. And then you get the result from actually signing and sending the transaction. And finally, you pass in that wallet that you imported before. This is using your wallet extension and signing the transaction as you. It's kind of a lot to take in, but better than needing to invent all of this whole cloth. All right, so another thing that I want to point out, we want you to ship a separate front end for each environment or network. So you've got a testnet.yourapp.com versus www.yourapp.com. And this lets you have different typings for those different environments, right? It'll automatically build a new NPM library for the production version of those contracts. And if you've got type errors in there because the interface of the public mainnet contract is a little bit different than the one on testnet, you'll find out about it before you ship a broken app. So the way you specify what the contracts are on testnet is in this environments toml file. If you scroll below the development settings, you've got the staging settings. And your list of contracts needs to match the list of contracts in staging. Again, we've got ideas we'll see in the conjure section of this talk of how we could maybe reorganize this to make more sense. But for now, you've got to have the same list, otherwise you have problems. And if you think about deploying on mainnet, you don't deploy over and over again on mainnet. You deploy once, and then you will occasionally deploy or you will upgrade those contracts and migrate the data in them. We want you to treat staging testnet the same way, right? So all of this client equals true stuff where we are automatically doing those 4 things over and over again, overwriting the world and getting things into a sensible starting place. Don't do that on mainnet, obviously, and we argue don't do that on testnet. You've got to provide IDs. But wouldn't it be cool if contracts could have names instead of IDs? Backing up more, slide intentionally left blank, wouldn't it be cool if on-chain contracts could be used like cargo dependencies in your contracts? Wouldn't it be cool if the WASM binaries deployed on-chain had names and versions? They are bits of functionality that are already structured to be usable by many contracts. Let's treat them that way. Let's give them names and versions and treat them like NPM packages or cargo crates. This is the idea of Stellar Registry. Remember the 2-for-1 deal that we got? We've got the Stellar Registry CLI that lets you author, publish, and deploy and upgrade WASM binaries. So when you are ready to publish your contracts, don't just deploy your contracts right away, slide intentionally left blank. We want you to have named and semantically versioned WASM binaries. So first, publish your binaries on chain. And then, I've got 1 minute. And then you can deploy your contracts to point at them, or you might not even need to publish them, right? You can just use someone else's that's already on chain. And then you would deploy your contract and then use upgrade to actually deploy the contract. I should have switched the order of those. All right, that's all we've got time for registry right now, but it accelerates this idea of open infrastructure. Whose contracts? Your contracts, whether you deployed them or not. That's it for Stellar Registry. We saw, let's conjure. I've got like 20 seconds. So this is our roadmap. Scan it and find out. For Q3, we're going to do that, finish the guess the number. Q4, the biggest thing is, I think probably the thing you're most excited about is you can use PNPM instead of NPM. That's for you, Tyler. Q1 is where things start to get exciting. That's the environments.toml evolution. Please tell us your thoughts. And then we also want to build a web UI, a searchable web UI for the registry. It doesn't do much if you can't search for WASM binaries on it. We will also maintain the Open Zeppelin contracts on it, so you don't need to download the boilerplate from Open Zeppelin Wizard or copy and paste code into your project. You can just use the ones that are already in the registry. Extensions coming in Q2 and adding indexing via extensions. I was talking to Nicole. We might also do a hackathon to get people to author their own extensions. BYO front end, make it easy to import contracts from elsewhere. And then we also want to follow the passkeys evolution and push the best practices for passkeys as we go. All right, big framing questions I want you to ask. What will make Stellar indispensable to the Web 2 audience? I think maybe it's auth, that blockchain provides the missing auth layer for the World Wide Web. Also, big framing question. Should building on Stellar be as easy as building on WordPress? Are we trying to build WordPress for finance, ownership, and governance? And then, is Scaffold Stellar the right way to get there? I want you to answer these questions and come find me and talk to me. I don't have a brain date. It was supposed to be yesterday, but I got delayed. That's it. We've conjured. That's my talk. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chad. Scaffold Stellar.